Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're going to be, looking at Priyanka Chopra.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and sort of her motivational advice. I mean, this woman is a global icon, an actress who's transitioned from Bollywood to Hollywood, a producer, an
Hmm.
entrepreneur. And she's not just, achieved success, but navigated diverse industries and cultures.
Right.
So that's why we thought her insights would be, super valuable for the deep dive.
Yeah, and you know what's really fascinating about her story is it really debunks this whole myth of overnight success.
Uh-huh.
She actually talks about how she started her American career kind of from scratch back in 2010.
Oh, wow.
And it took her a whole decade of really intense work before she landed her first leading role in Hollywood.
A decade.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy, right?
That's wild. I mean, most people would have just given up way before then. What kept her going? What was she doing all that time?
Well, she admitted, at first she had this kind of romanticized idea of just relentless work. No sleep, no breaks, just pushing limits. Like, that's the key to
Yeah,
success.
right.
But as she started, working in Hollywood, especially as a South Asian woman, she realized
Yeah.
that that whole approach was just not sustainable.
Yeah, and it makes you wonder, are we all kind of like chasing after that same like unsustainable hustle? I know I've definitely fallen into that trap a few times.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of people have. And, she finally realized that actually, like, burning the candle at both ends was actually hindering her,
Okay.
her success.
Interesting.
And so that's kind of when she discovered the power of work-life balance.
Yeah.
And she's very specific about how she does, like, she talks about setting these really clear boundaries, like
Hmm.
scheduling dedicated time for family, for relaxation, for herself,
Okay.
even having a no work allowed rule on Sundays.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, it's about totally switching off, just to recharge.
I mean, that's so smart. It's not about being lazy, it's about being strategic
Right.
with your time and your energy.
Yeah.
I love that she called it like feeding your soul, you know? Did she talk about how she like developed this work-life balance? Was it like a sudden shift or was it more of a gradual thing?
It was definitely a process,
Yeah.
you know? She says it actually took her, like, a full decade to figure it out.
Really?
Yeah, she even talks about having to, like, swallow the humility pill,
Yeah.
facing rejection, navigating these cultural differences in Hollywood. I mean, you can imagine, like, the pressure she must felt to constantly prove herself.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, actually.
Yeah, that's a really powerful image, that swallowing the humility pill. It reminds me of like all those times I've had to kind of like start over,
Hmm.
put my ego aside and just learn from scratch.
Yeah,
I bet a lot of our listeners can relate to that.
absolutely. And, that's where her insight about, like, drowning out the noise becomes so important.
Yeah.
Not just, like, external criticism, but that inner voice of self-doubt.
Oh, tell me about it. I struggle with that inner critic like all the time.
Yeah.
Do you have any tips based on what she said about how to deal with that?
Well, her approach is, like, twofold.
Okay.
First, she really limits, her exposure to negativity. Like, she talks about being really selective about what news she consumes, even, like, the people she allows into her, like, inner circle.
Yeah,
It's about creating that really positive, supportive environment.
that makes a lot of sense. Surround yourself with the cheerleaders, not the doubters.
Right, exactly.
But what about those nagging doubts that come from within?
Yeah.
How do you deal with those?
She asked this really powerful question. Do you have that inside of you to fight that fight for yourself, or are you going to wait for somebody else to do it?
Mm.
It's really about taking ownership of your own narrative and believing in yourself, even when others might not.
Wow, that's deep. She
Yeah.
basically saying you have to be your own biggest advocate. Did she share any like strategies for how to like build that inner strength?
She talks about being a student of life.
Okay.
It's about constantly, like, seeking out new knowledge, new perspectives, new experiences.
Mm.
And she doesn't, just limit herself to, like, traditional sources of learning.
Right.
She talks about finding inspiration from people of all backgrounds, from different industries, even, like, from her travels.
I mean, it's about staying curious and open-minded, right? And that curiosity probably really helped her kind of navigate, the challenges of breaking into Hollywood.
Exactly. And, she even shared this anecdote about working on the TV show Quantico
Okay.
and how, like, her co-stars initially, they didn't really understand, the hoopla surrounding her.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that even someone as successful as her faces those moments where people just kind of underestimate her or
Yeah.
don't quite get her.
Yeah. That must have been like so frustrating, you know?
Yeah.
I bet she had to work even harder in that kind of environment.
Yeah, she does. She emphasizes the importance of focusing on your own goals and not getting caught up in what other people think.
Okay.
She also really stresses the importance of collaboration
Hmm.
and learning from others.
Yeah.
She talks about how those same co-stars on Quantico, like eventually they became some of her biggest supporters once they got to know her.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So it sounds like she turned like this potentially awkward situation into like an opportunity for growth and connection.
Right.
I really admire that,
Yeah.
her resilience.
Resilience is definitely one of her like defining traits.
Yeah.
And it's something that I think we can all cultivate, you know.
Yeah.
It's about seeing challenges as these like opportunities to learn and grow
Yeah.
and finding that courage to just keep going when things get tough.
Oh, absolutely. And I think we all need that reminder sometimes.
Yeah.
Speaking of important reminders, didn't she also talk about like gratitude and giving back?
She did. She's very aware of her privilege. You know, the fact that she's had like opportunities that many others with, similar aspirations haven't had.
Yeah.
And this is what fuels, her commitment to giving back.
Okay. So, but what does giving back look like for her though? Is it just like donating money or is it something more than that?
It's definitely more hands-on.
Uh,
She's a UNICEF Goodwill Ambassador
wow.
and actively involved in like a lot of philanthropic initiatives,
Wow.
particularly ones, focused on empowering women and girls.
That's incredible. She's not just talking the talk, she's walking the walk.
Exactly. And she encourages all of us, to find ways to give back,
Yeah.
regardless of our circumstances.
Yeah.
It's about, recognizing that we all have something to offer and that even small acts of kindness can make a difference.
I mean, it's about using your platform, however big or small, to make the world a better place.
Absolutely. And, to do that effectively,
Yeah.
she believes you need to be bold. She really encourages, especially young women, to like challenge these societal expectations and make their own choices.
Didn't she say something about like bold girls make history?
She did.
Mm.
And she actually contrasts that with this moral science class she took in school
Mhm.
where girls were taught to, be seen and not heard.
Wow.
So it's a powerful reminder that sometimes we have to like break free from those like outdated norms
Yeah.
to create a more just and equitable world.
Yeah, it's about like questioning the status quo and having the courage to forge your own path,
Yeah.
Which kind of reminds me, didn't she say something about defining success on your own terms?
She did. And this is where things get like really interesting.
Right.
She doesn't believe that true success is about, external validation or
Okay.
achieving like what society deems successful.
Right.
It's about aligning your actions with your personal values
Mhm.
and like living a purposeful life.
So it's less about like climbing the ladder and more about creating a life that feels meaningful to you.
Exactly.
Okay.
And she has this amazing line. She says, "What you do between birth and death is your legacy."
Whoa.
It's about making those choices that align with who you want to be and the impact you want to have.
Wow. That's heavy, but also like incredibly inspiring.
Yeah.
Makes you think about what you want to be remembered for, not just what you want to achieve.
Right. And that's exactly the kind of reflection that she hopes to spark in her listeners.
I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground. Work-life balance, drowning out negativity, being a student of life, giving back, being bold, define your own success, and building a legacy.
A lot.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
But you know what? It's clear that her journey is about so much more than just achieving, fame and fortune.
Right.
It's about like personal growth, resilience, and using your platform to make a positive impact, in the world. And that's a message I think we can all believe from.
Yeah, absolutely.
No matter what stage of life we're in.
Yeah. Are you ready to go even deeper?
You bet. What else does she have to say?
It's funny, she actually challenges this idea of meticulously planning your future.
Really?
Like, she doesn't believe in those rigid 5 or 10-year plans.
That's surprising. You'd think someone who's, achieved so much would be all about that strategizing and goal setting.
Right.
So what does she do instead?
She focuses on taking inspired action, like in the present moment,
Okay.
Staying open to opportunities,
Yeah.
allowing herself to kind of be guided by her intuition, by the people around her.
So it's more about being adaptable,
Yeah.
responsive to, the ever-changing landscape of life rather than trying to like control every single outcome.
Exactly. And, she finds inspiration everywhere,
Yeah.
like from the people she admires,
Mm-hmm.
from those like unexpected encounters, even from books she reads. She's constantly like absorbing new information and letting it kind of shape her path.
It's like she's saying, trust the journey and be open to where it takes you.
Yeah.
I love that. But I imagine there's still like a lot of hard work involved.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
She's like incredibly driven. She talks about this internal pressure she feels to constantly push herself, never settle for mediocrity.
Yeah.
But she also recognizes the importance of like recognizing your limits,
Right.
knowing when to slow down.
It's about finding that sweet spot between striving for excellence and giving yourself permission to like rest and recharge, right? Didn't she say something about indulging in like simple
She
pleasures?
did. She
Yeah.
really encourages like getting an extra hour of sleep, enjoying like a delicious meal,
Hmm.
spending time in nature, whatever, like brings you joy and replenishes your energy.
I can definitely relate to that. Sometimes I get so caught up in the hustle that I forget to like actually enjoy life.
Yeah, it's easy to do.
Yeah, did she share any like tips for creating that balance?
One thing she really emphasized was the importance of like surrounding yourself with those supportive people, who
Yeah.
genuinely want to see you succeed.
Yeah.
She calls them your champions.
I love that. Like having that strong support system is so crucial, especially when you're, going after those big goals.
Absolutely. And it's not just about like having people who cheer you on.
Right.
It's also about recognizing those relationships that might be holding you back.
You mean like toxic relationships or like the draining ones?
Exactly. She encourages us to be mindful of like the energy that we
Wow.
allow into our lives
Yeah.
and to really prioritize those relationships that like uplift us and empower us.
That's such a good point, I think we often underestimate like how much our social circle impacts like our well-being and our ability to actually achieve our goals. Did she talk about any like specific strategies for like cultivating like a more supportive network?
She talks about being intentional, about who you spend time with, the
Yeah.
conversations you engage in,
Yeah.
like seeking out those who inspire you, who challenge you in a positive way, who share your values.
It's about creating a community, that fosters growth and encourages you to be your best self.
Yeah. And sometimes that means like letting go of those relationships that no longer serve you.
Which can be really tough.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it's about creating space for those like more positive and fulfilling connections, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, she also emphasizes like staying true to yourself,
Right.
even when you're faced with that like external pressure to conform.
Right. It reminds me of like her message about being bold,
Yeah.
and challenging those societal expectations.
Exactly. She believes that true success comes from like aligning your actions with your authentic self,
Yeah.
not from trying to like fit into a mold.
Right.
That doesn't feel right.
She's saying don't be afraid to like stand out, to be different, embrace what makes you unique.
Exactly. And, often that uniqueness is what leads to like those most innovative ideas,
Yeah.
the groundbreaking achievements.
It's about having the courage to like break the mold and create something new, right?
Absolutely. And her own journey, is a testament to that.
Yeah.
She didn't follow a conventional path.
Right.
She took risks, she challenged norms, and she like forged her own way.
It's inspiring to see someone, who's not afraid to kind of defy those expectations,
Yeah.
create her own definition of success.
And that's ultimately, what she encourages us all to do.
Yeah.
Find our own path,
Yeah.
embrace our authentic selves, and make a meaningful contribution
Yeah.
to the world.
It's about recognizing that, success isn't a destination, it's a journey, right?
Right.
And it's a journey that's like unique to each individual.
Right. And she believes that everyone has the potential to achieve great things as long as they're willing to, put in the work,
Yeah.
stay true to themselves,
Uh-huh.
and never stop learning.
So it's not just about talent or luck.
No, it's about having that growth mindset,
Okay.
being resilient, surrounding yourself with, that supportive community.
And about like embracing the unknown and trusting that the journey will, kind of lead you to where you're meant to be.
Exactly. Her story reminds us that we all have that power to
Yeah.
create our own destiny. Are you ready for the last part of the deep dive?
Definitely. What else did she share? Okay, so we talked about like work-life balance and, quieting that inner critic and building your support system. What else did Priyanka have to say?
Well, she actually talked about the importance of finding joy in the process.
Oh, okay.
She believes if you're not enjoying the journey, you're kind of doing something wrong.
Right, that makes sense. But how do you stay motivated and positive, when things get tough? When you're facing like rejection or setbacks?
She reminds us that success is rarely linear.
Mm-hmm.
There will be ups and downs,
Mm.
twists and turns. It's about embracing those challenges
Yeah.
as opportunities to learn and grow and remembering to, like, celebrate the small wins along the way.
Oh, I think that's something we often forget to do.
Yeah.
We get so focused on that end goal that we forget to like just appreciate the progress. Yeah.
Did she share any tips for staying grounded and present?
She talks about gratitude.
Okay.
It's about, acknowledging and appreciating the good things in your life, even when things are like tough.
Yeah.
It's focusing on what you have, not what you lack.
That's such a good reminder.
Yeah.
It's so easy to get caught up in that, negativity bias,
Yeah.
focus on what's wrong instead of, what's right.
Hmm.
Did she offer any like practical ways to actually like cultivate gratitude?
She suggests like keeping a gratitude journal.
Writing down 3 things you're grateful for every day, or even just taking a few moments each morning
Yeah.
to just like reflect on the good things in your life.
It's like a mental reset button.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
So we've covered a lot in this deep dive: work-life balance, dealing with negativity, building a support system, embracing the journey, and practicing gratitude.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you think our listeners should take away from her story?
I think the biggest takeaway is that she reminds us that we all have the power to create a life
Uh-huh.
that we love. It's not about waiting for permission or for someone else to hand us our dream.
Right.
It's about taking ownership,
Yeah.
making those choices
Yeah.
that align with our values and our aspirations.
It's about being the hero, of your own story.
Exactly. And that story doesn't have to be perfect. It's
Right.
about embracing those imperfections, learning from those mistakes,
Yeah.
and continuing to grow and evolve.
Yeah, it's about like living a life that feels authentic and meaningful to you.
Priyanka's journey is really a reminder that success is not a destination, it's a journey.
Yeah.
And it's a journey that's unique to each individual.
So, what kind of journey do you want to create? What steps can you take today to start building the life and the legacy that you envision?
That's the question we'll leave you with.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the wisdom of Priyanka Chopra.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
We hope it's inspired you to create your own, extraordinary journey. Until next time.